another Q&A. Welcome to the Q&A session for the Shaping Up. I'm going to try and actually put this one out as a podcast as well as just a video. I need to look into that. Yeah, I do. I keep saying it every week, and this might actually be the first one. So if it is, welcome to the first podcast. If it isn't, there will be one coming soon. It's just finding the time in the day. Loads of good questions. So as ever, I put up on my Instagram stories. I know you did as well.
Yeah.
And I've got a few questions from that. And then also just questions from speaking to clients and the check-ins. So we will go straight in. And this one has been, I know that you've encountered this with your check-ins on daily weigh-ins. So why don't you, I'll pass over to you with the daily weigh-in stuff and go what the questions were and what your recommendations were to the girls when you spoke to them.
Yeah, so like you say, it's one that I think we had it quite frequently last time as well, and I think it is something that comes up quite a lot, that it can be quite difficult to get your head around at the start, especially when you're used to, if you've looked at other methods of fat loss where you've been doing the weekly weighing, or you're not used to weighing full stop. So it can be a bit of a shock to the system. And for some people, it obviously can be really difficult, and it does take time to overcome that barrier that a lot of people feel when they see their weight on the scales. But what you'll find by weighing daily is that they will fluctuate. They're not always going to be going down every single day, because if that happened every single day of your life, eventually they really can't go down anymore until you're dead.
Yeah.
So you don't really want to see them keep going down, and there'll be so many different reasons why they might spike up or stay the same. That can be anything from the amount of food in your system, if you've eaten something a little bit different, or you're carrying more water weight, especially for women at different times of the month. Like, there's so many different reasons around it. And by weighing daily, you can start to understand how your body reacts in different ways, how it, some people, I think we spoke about it before, you had a client that would like stay the same for like 3 weeks, then all of a sudden it dropped.
Yeah.
They wouldn't necessarily change anything, but that's just how their body reacted, and that's how they're built. And everyone is very different. But if you only weigh weekly, you only get a very small snapshot picture of that. And it might just be that you've done something different the day before that means that scale weight has either dropped loads or gone up. But at least if you're weighing daily and taking your average across the week, you can really see that they are still going down. If you're in a deficit, it will be coming down slowly. So yeah, we just looked at like giving it time if you can. But if it is something that, if fat loss isn't your goal, or your goal isn't weight based necessarily, then actually, is it always the right thing for you? So we've had a few different conversations about stick with it. And I had another conversation with another client that was like, yeah, getting really good at stepping on the scales. I understand it's just data. It's one bit of data I'm collecting, and we're looking at everything as a whole. And it's getting to that stage where you can accept that weighing yourself is just one method of collecting data, and it doesn't build a whole picture. It doesn't change who you are. It doesn't define you.
Yeah.
It's just one method of data collection. So yeah, but I think a lot of people do still get caught up on it, and it's just trying to see that they will change, they will go up and down, but ultimately, as long as they're going down in the end, that's what we're looking for.
And I think understanding as well that weight and the number on the scale does not always directly relate to fat loss. So weight loss and fat loss aren't the same thing. You've got to understand that when you stand on the scales, it's not just measuring the amount of body fat you've got. It measures the weight of your bone, all the tissues within your body, water, and fat. And, and also the amount, like you say, the amount of food you've got in your digestive system, and the things that can change rapidly. Fat is not one of them. Your fat cannot rapidly go up or down. You're talking about grams per day, and even if you're let's say we lose a pound or half a kilo a week, if you divide that by 7, you're looking at sort of 70-80 grams of fat loss per day.
Yeah.
And even if you're losing a kilo a week, that's only like 140 grams of fat lost per day, which is not a huge amount. So if you see the weight drop by a pound or 2 pounds overnight, or go up by a pound or 2 pounds overnight, the first thing to realize is it can't be fat, because your body can't break down or store fat that quickly. So it's got to be one of the other things. Well, the only things that are going to change are water and the amount of food in your system.
Yeah.
And once you get your head around that, the fluctuations suddenly become less of an issue.
Yeah.
the challenge is understanding what that data is actually telling you.
Yeah.
And I think
it can be so hard when you first start to not get caught up on that number. Like, I can completely accept it. Like, I've definitely been there myself,
yeah,
where it's so difficult to start to learn and understand that. But what I got to a point of doing was I get up in the morning and I'd be like, we're just collecting data today. Like, that's all we're doing. Doesn't matter whatever that number says. Doesn't matter. It's just data.
yeah.
And I think if you get that mindset, you could, and then if you start actually getting intrigued about what those differences are, I think you can look at it in a slightly different way as well.
Yeah.
That can definitely help.
Yeah. So if it does go up, think, what did you do the day or the 2 days before? So did you have more carbohydrates the day before? Because that can spike water weight. Did you have salty food, or did you have like Chinese takeaways have a lot of MSG in them? That can cause water retention. Did you do a hard workout or go for a big long walk? Are your muscles sore? Is it that, like you say, time in a month, where you are in your cycle? What's the temperature like? If you have you been on a flight? Have you been abroad on a holiday?
That's your
All
one,
of
Will.
these, all of these things can impact on you on the weight. And if you start thinking, why has that gone up? Why has it gone down? That can help. And one of the things I sort of say quite a lot to my one-to-one clients is they've had a sudden loss and they're going, oh, the scale's gone down. And I'll say, did you go to the toilet yesterday? Did you find that you were going for a wee quite a lot? And they're like, well, yeah, actually I was. That's water weight. So they start to understand it. And like you say, if some of those slimming clubs where they say only weigh once a week, you could go on a day where for some reason it spiked up and you've missed all of the drops from the days before, and I would say if you're going to weigh yourself, you've either got to do it regularly, maybe not daily, but at a few points across the week. So some clients, I will say to them, right, which day do you typically find that you weigh your lightest? And quite often for a lot of people, it's either Friday or Saturday morning. And which day do you find you weigh your heaviest? Usually sort of Sunday or Monday. Okay, so weigh yourself on a Monday and a Friday.
Yeah.
So, and then you compare, rather than comparing Monday to Friday and vice versa, go from one Monday to the next, one Friday to the next. And then look at it across a month as well for women. So week 1 to week 1, week 2 to week 2, and so on and so forth. And you can start to see those patterns. And like you say, that client that I had that plateaued for 3 weeks and then dropped, once she understood that and got her head around it, it made it. Yeah, she became more consistent. She realized that she wasn't doing anything wrong. She stuck to the process, became consistent, and she's now, she's lost 16 kilos now,
Wow.
and but once she got her head around it, it became a lot easier. So yeah, daily weigh-ins. Why we do it, it's to give us data, it's to allow us to understand what's happening, treat it like data. If you find, like you say, that it's starting to impact and getting you down, then stop it for a period. Don't use other progress measures. Use your measurements, use your photos, how your clothes feel, energy levels, all of this sort of stuff. Those are really, really good ways of measuring the progress. This leads nicely into the next question, which is plateaus. So doing these plateaus. Now, I know that you've sort of encountered these yourself. I know I have as well.
Yeah.
What's your top tips for people who sort of encounter plateaus?
It's a really difficult one, isn't it? I think it's, again, you've just got to, this is where if you understand your body and you've collected all the different kinds of data, you can really see. And actually, if you get to a point where none of them are changing, but you've not changed anything, it's actually sitting back and reflecting, like, do you need to tighten up on your tracking? Has that slipped a little bit?
Yeah.
Can you increase your activity levels? Because really, when you're already in a deficit, we spoke about this a bit last week, is that we don't want to keep reducing calories. Like, that's not the be all and end all. Isn't to just eat less all the time. It's whether you can then increase your activity to be like, okay, maybe if we're doing 5,000 steps a day, let's try and do 6,000. Let's increase the steps. Let's try and do a workout or an extra 20 minutes of something, or try and increase your activity. Tighten up on your tracking, make sure that you are still where you want to be, that all your numbers are matching up, and you've not just let little things slip in, because that tends to be when they happen. and then go from there and then reassess. And again, give it time. Like with weight loss, if you have any weight plateaus, you still need to give it time, because again, you're not going to see a quick drop again overnight. You need to then give your adjustments a little bit of time to work before assessing if they have worked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and like we said, that client of mine, 3 weeks, and people like, oh, that's a plateau. For some people, it's not.
Yeah.
You need to really be patient and understand that this stuff takes time, and it can, for some people, they can find that, it can plateau for 4 weeks and they've done nothing differently. And there could be lots and lots of different reasons and it's generally water weight,
Yeah.
and it's just because if you are in a deficit, your body will lose fat regardless. And it might just be that, if you are strength training, which we should all be doing if we can do, if you are strength training and you're building, a little bit of muscle, then that might be the reason for it. So you might be building a bit of muscle, that you might be sore, so you're retaining water, and that's masking that fat loss.
Yeah.
And then when the water retention goes, because your muscles have now got used to the adaptations and got used to the workouts, then we see the loss. Then you might find that the workouts get a bit more intense and it plateaus again. So yeah, plateaus, like you say, I think double check everything, check that you've not drifted on your habits. Check that you mentioned steps, check that your steps haven't dropped or your activity levels haven't dropped. That's another one. When you're in a deficit, your body's actually going to compensate for that by making you less active. So check that your steps are okay, check that your workouts are still consistent and you're still doing the same things and working hard. And if everything if you're doing everything as you should be, then we can start looking at, okay, so can we increase the activity? I like that as well. Rather than just automatically assuming we reduce the calories,
Yeah.
can we increase the activity? We've got to understand that as we lose weight, our body is going to do less work moving that. Therefore, that 5,000 steps might have been enough to lose weight before. But if you're carrying less weight, you're going to have to move more to burn the same amount of energy. So yeah, and then if the activity still isn't working and the weight loss is still plateauing, then we can start looking at perhaps reducing those calories. So lots of really good info there. Yeah, brilliant. And I'm hoping that one. I know that some of the girls on the Shape Up at the moment are just sort of questioning it. I think that will help. So yeah, top tips there. Check your tracking, check your activity. If your activity is starting to drop a little, or if it's not increased, maybe just up it a little bit. Doesn't need to be a lot. I mean, like you said there, if you're doing 5,000 steps and we do 6,000, check that check that your weights are going up and progressing. Then the other thing that I haven't mentioned, if the weight plateaus, double check your measurements.
Yes. Yeah.
Are they
Yeah.
coming down? Double check your photos and how your clothes fit, because if they're
Yeah.
changing, weight loss doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I've said this one before, and it's a question that I've asked you as well when I was coaching you. It's like choice between losing 2 stone and staying the same size,
100%.
losing 2 dress sizes and staying the same weight. Which one are you going to pick?
Yeah.
You
And
know?
it's again, then when the scales don't get caught up on them, they're just one method of data, and there are so many others.
Yeah, loads.
That you need to just remember, like, don't just focus on that one. And that's another really good example of it.
And and from a personal point of view, so my body fat hasn't particularly changed. And so my lowest weight was 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 76 kilos. I'm now at about 86 kilos, so 10 kilos heavier. My body fat hasn't changed. So, I'm looking the same leanness as I was then, give or take. So actually, I've built muscle. I look
Yeah.
different, but my weight is big. And if I was solely judging it on the weight, I'd be like, oh, I've gained 1.5 stone, but I've gained so much more. So that's
It's a really
really,
good point,
yeah, it's a
like
really
I've
key thing to look at.
Old from like years and years ago, from like first ever time I think I took progress pictures. I've still got them. I looked at them the other day, and I'm technically the same weight at the moment as I was then, but I look completely different.
Yeah,
It's the same thing. I've
absolutely.
got more muscle now. I train. but then I wasn't really training. And yeah, it's all of these things. I've definitely got more muscle now and less
Yeah.
body fat, but I am the same weight.
Yeah. So weight's completely, almost completely irrelevant. I mean, I know for some people, for fat loss, weight is a
Yeah,
good way of measuring, especially if you've got a lot of body fat to lose. But
yeah,
actually, if you've only got, say you've only got sort of somewhere between 5 and 10 kilos to lose,
yeah, where I am. Yeah,
then, actually, if you do it the right way and in a sustainable way, the weight's not going to change massively, but your body shape can do. So that's a really good sort of reminder of things. All right. Next one. So this one was something that was sent on my Instagram story post. How do you stick to a routine? And this is something that's key within the Shape Up program, is trying to build routines and things. Um, and this ties in with the advice that you gave to one of the girls on the program as well, is if you're struggling to build a routine, break it down into the simplest things that you can do.
yeah.
And what was the advice that you gave to
So yeah, we were just looking at the whole, when you're changing programs, starting anything new, or your routine does have to change. I think sometimes we can get really caught up, especially I guess on programs like this. If you've not really done anything before, you can look at it and think, oh my gosh, there's so much. I can't do it all, so therefore I can't do any of it. We hit that button and we go, fine, I can't do anything. And actually, it, like I say, it's just breaking it down. Like, okay, which one can we do? What barriers are there, and what can we look at removing? Because ultimately, to succeed, it has to be a routine that is easy for you to follow.
yeah,
And there's such small, easy things that you can put in place, whatever it is that you're trying to build as a habit, whether that's going to the gym in the mornings before work, get your workout clothes out the night before and lay them out. They're there, they're ready. You have to look at them, put them on. If you're looking at taking, like I take vitamin D and omega-3, so I don't eat any fish every day, but they're out by the kettle. Like,
yeah,
they're not in a cupboard. I see them every day. That's a trigger. I can remember to do it. And it's building these little things up over time. And it's, again, when you're trying to build up your steps, becoming a habit. Like, don't try and go from 0 to 10,000. Build them up slowly. Like, if you try and do too much, it's harder to build that routine and that habit.
yeah,
And actually, if you start to do one small thing, you can then build another one on top of that and increase everything into your routine altogether.
yeah,
And I think that's the best advice I can give, is to start small. Like, don't. I think with New Year's resolutions, it's a really difficult one, because people
yeah,
are like, yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to run every single day, or we're going to do this. And actually, if you're someone that sat there and you don't run at all, don't try and run 6 times a week. Like, aim for once, then
yeah.
try twice, and really try and build up slowly. And it's so much easier to stick to than if you just try and go 0 to 100, because you will find it will just drop off, because as soon as that motivation goes, it's not going to happen anymore. So you're better off to start off slow and go from there.
Yeah, and for some people, big changes work. Actually, for some people, overhauling everything and looking at it as a new start, it does work. But for a lot of people, if it's so, looking at workouts, people have this idea that, oh, I've got to go and smash a workout every single day in the gym. And you might start off with the best intentions, but if you do that, you're going to feel really tired very, very
Yeah,
quickly, especially if you're really slashing your calories. And you'll get to a point where you just can't do it. You'll hit burnout. So instead of thinking, right, I've got to do an hour's workout every time, if that's daunting, then just do something.
yeah,
And we said this to I know you said this to the client. One of the girls on the program, it's like, well, okay, you're not excited by the workouts, that you don't want to do them,
yeah,
but you are doing something else. So, do that instead. That's fine. We have the online workouts that they can do. And I know she does
yeah.
those. If she'd rather do those,
Fine.
because at least
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
moving. And I always say to clients, if you struggle with getting in, so that if they come to me for a PT session, but they're struggling to get in the other workouts, it's like, well, what can you do? Can you do 3 sets of 10 squats and 3 sets of press ups against the side in the kitchen every morning? It takes you 5 minutes. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. Right. Build that into your routine. When you put the kettle on in the morning, do 3 sets of 10 squats, 3 sets of 10 press ups. Done. And they're like, oh, is that enough? Well, that's something, because at the moment you're doing nothing. If you're doing that every morning, then you can build on it. And I've done that with one-to-one clients in the past, where we're trying to get them into the gym. It's like, well,
yeah,
rather than thinking I've got to go to the gym and do an hour's workout, Let's just go to the gym, do 5 minutes on a treadmill and go home. And for one client, he walked past the gym. So we literally just went, right, you're going to walk into the gym, you're going to walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes, and then you're going to walk home. And all that was doing was adding 5 minutes extra to his journey home.
Yeah.
Within 6 months, he was then going to the gym 3 times a week, doing 3 workouts, and it changed his life. But
Yeah.
small steps. So break it down into the smallest thing that's going to make a difference. There's no point just doing one squat, although for some people that might be enough. But do something that's meaningful, but is in they call it the 2 minute rule. A lot when behavioral science, they say use the 2 minute rule. What can you do in 2 minutes that you can do consistently?
Yeah.
And then, the chances are you're going to do it. So if you want a routine, break it down into the small chunks. And there's lots of other things. I mean, we'll go through this. I think we'll end up going through loads of habit stuff as we go through. But I think the one that you said there is put things. I do the same with my supplements. I set them up the night before. So to buy the kettle, the first thing I do, take my omega-3s, take my vitamin D, take my creatine, and it's all together done. And it is a habit, it's a routine because it's there and it's something that I do consistently at the same time. And that's the other thing I would say as well. Don't just do stuff ad hoc.
Yeah.
Set a time and a day that you're going to do it. So, the reason we sort of on the program, we say workout days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Set that time aside. If it has to be a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, that's fine. But set that time. That is your time and do it. Okay. All right. Smaller ones now. Sweet tooth. I'm going to give you this one because this is one of your clients. So sweet tooth.
Yeah,
Tips
it
for
was
that.
a case of, I've got a really sweet tooth. Yeah, me too. Yeah, so after dinner, I always want chocolate. Yeah, me too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, is that okay? Sure. And it was we had a really good discussion about it. I know we spoke last week about, not looking at food as being good, bad, off limits, can't eat that, can eat that. And, if you've hit your protein, you've got calories spare, and you're hungry, and you want a bit of chocolate after dinner, no one's going to stop you. But if it's those days, like I said, I did it myself a couple of days ago, I knew I'd had a couple of biscuits at work in the day and like a little bit more because I hadn't actually had time to stop, which is really bad. Would not advocate that. But after dinner, I was like, right, I want something sweet because that's just what I do. But I had loads of fruit in, so I was like, we'll have an orange, and that still worked.
Yeah.
So I was still having something sweet. It still satisfied that end of a meal. Had something sweet. We can move on with our day. For me, grapes are another good one. Just like grab a few grapes. They're a really good one because they're really sweet.
Yeah.
Or get like little chocolate bars. I'm a bit of a sucker. I love a Freddo, so I have a Freddo in. Yeah, I can fit them in quite easily. Only 2 mouthfuls, they're gone, but it works because they're quite still chunky chocolates. You still feel like you've had enough. But yeah, little things like that, or the lower calorie chocolate alternatives. They may, for some people, they work and they still feel like they've had a chocolate treat, and for some days they work, and other days I'm like, they're not going to cut it.
Yeah.
And it's the same, Will. This
I think you
have it.
I think you're spot on in that, if you want it, allow yourself to have it, because the more you kind of say, I can't have it, the more you're going to crave it. And then that's what's going to lead to a binge.
Like, don't press the red button, isn't it? What?
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
So it's if you really want it, have it. And on some days, particularly for women, there's nothing else that's going to replace that chocolate, as we found out in that seminar.
We did, yeah.
So absolutely, if you want it, have it. You mentioned loads of strategies like getting pre-portioned things. So Freddos, I get some of the supermarkets do like the 5 little mini bars that you can buy,
They're also
and
good.
25-gram bars, and they're enough. But yeah, allow yourself. It's giving yourself unconditional permission to eat those things, and once you do that, it becomes easier to moderate it. If you have trigger foods, though, if there are some foods that you find difficult to control, then don't keep them in the house. I'm not saying you can't have them, but put barrier, just as if we want to build a habit, we need to remove barriers. If you want to break a habit, put barriers in place. And that's what that pre-portioned wrapper does. It's a barrier to kind of, oh, I've got to open another one. It's not much of a barrier, but for some people it's enough. Put the lid on the chocolate bar, hide on the chocolate tin, hide it. out of sight, out of mind. So there's little things there. But ultimately, if you've got a sweet tooth and you want that chocolate, have it. One of the other things I do as well, because those sweet things generally aren't very high volume and they're not going to fill you if you're hungry. What I do is grapes are a good one, but I will put some chocolate with the grapes. So I'll have like a bowl of grapes and then a small portion of chocolate. So I'm still having the chocolate, but then I'm getting the grapes and the fiber and stuff to try and fill me.
Or
And
even the other one that I see like people do a lot. There's a other really good one. Is like if you have got a few more calories spare, maybe you haven't hit your protein, but you're like, oh, well, I don't want that because I really want the chocolate. Even if you have like some fruit, some yogurt, and then that little bit of chocolate, like
yeah,
you're still, but you're mixing in more volume foods that are going to fill you up.
really good one is if you get like the little pots of Greek yogurt and then grate chocolate over the top of it. There's a little tip for you. It's nice. Mix it through and you just kind of get those little chocolate hits. I like that
Yeah.
one. That's a good one for me. All right. Yeah, that was a good one. Right. Really quick one. This one's for me. So one of the questions was, how many exercises should you do in a workout? Now I know this came from somebody who is currently doing a program, and there's no shade on any other kind of trainer. I looked at the program and there were like 10, 12 exercises in there. And that was daunting. This was a question from somebody who spoke to me in person and posted it online, and they were daunted by it. Now, our programs generally have 6 or 7 exercises per workout. You don't need any more than that, you know. And if you depending on the actual workout that you're doing, so for most people, if you're going twice a week, it's 2 full body exercises. Then what you're looking at within, or 2 full body workouts, what you're looking at in there is basic movements. And now I've done posts on this. If you go and have a look at my social media feed, I've actually recently put up how you can make your own workout. But effectively in a workout, you've got a full body one. There's a squat movement, so squats, lunges, things like that. You have a hinge movement, which is hip dominant, so deadlifts, RDLs, Bulgarian split squats, hip thrusts. You get an upper body push movement, so you've got chest presses, shoulder presses, lateral raises, those sorts of things. An upper body pull movement, which is going to be your rows, lat pull downs, bicep curls, things like that, and then the core. So those are kind of the 5 basic ones. The core you can do carrying movements, so holding stuff and keeping your core solid while you're carrying, or you can do things like crunches, twists, whatever. But those 5 exercises, if you want a good workout, you pick one from each of those. That's 5 exercises. Do 3 to 4 sets of those with a weight that challenges you. That is going to be enough. And that'll take you anywhere between 40 minutes to 60 minutes. You do not need to do 10, 12 exercises. Just don't. It's too much. It's overwhelming for a lot of people. So we tend to go sort of 6 or 7 as a top end. If it's a leg day, personally, I hate leg day. I'm a bloke day.
Well, I think the girls are loving your leg day at the moment. Either way,
I don't like leg day. No, I do, and I've got a love-hate relationship with leg day. I hate doing it. I love the feeling afterwards, and I like the results. My leg days tend to have 4 or 5 exercises in because I find them hard. It's a lot of muscles. It's a big muscle group, and you're using a lot of energy, and I get tired very, very quickly. And if you're doing it properly, you should be getting tired quite quickly. But 4 or 5 exercises in that is enough. And then maybe upper body, I'll do 5 to 7. So yeah, how many exercises in a workout? 5 to 7 for upper body or a full body workout. And then you're looking at, oh, my light's suddenly gone out. And then you're looking at 4 or 5 exercises for leg day. Cool. Right. So we've got 2 questions on supplements. I'm going to deal with the protein powder one first. Protein powder, should I take it? All right. What's your take on protein powder?
it's a really difficult one because it's seen as a supplement, but I don't always necessarily see that it is a supplement.
I
If
would
that,
agree with you on that one. Yeah.
it's like it's to me, it's like adult milkshake. Like
Yeah.
that's a really weird way to look at it, but it's a really quick, easy way to add extra protein into your meals.
Yeah.
You don't have to take it, but ultimately, if you're struggling to hit your protein, it's a really easy option.
Yeah.
And I have protein powder probably, yeah, like pretty much every day. Like my breakfast is based around a protein smoothie, which will always be a scoop of protein powder in there.
Yeah.
Because it's so quick, it's so easy, and it helps just increase protein in meals.
It's
So
also
yeah,
cheap.
yeah. It's cheap, it's easy, it's lower calorie, it helps get your protein up. There's loads of different flavors. It's not, I think it's a little bit more mainstream than it used to be.
Yeah.
Flavors you can get out there now, it's really easily accessible. And I personally don't see it as a supplement, although I understand why it's seen that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think people see it as a supplement because it's supplementing your protein intake, but it's a foodstuff. It's actually a byproduct of the production of cheese.
Yeah,
When they separate the curd from the whey, and that's what it is. It's the whey.
yeah,
So they then reduce that down, put it into protein form, and then they add flavorings. Now, there's a lot of stuff at the moment, especially around some of these influencers that I really don't like, and I've had their followers giving me issues recently where they demonize protein powder. There is nothing wrong with it. Some people can get bloated from protein powder. And there's a number of reasons for that. If you're lactose intolerant, having whey protein can bloat you. Then I would say go for either a vegan blend, plant-based blend, or a whey protein isolate because most of the lactose is taken out of that. Um, Sometimes they add sweeteners and what you call sugar alcohols. So if you look at the ingredients and it's things like maltitol or sorbitol or xylitol, it's got the OL on the end. They're what you call sugar alcohols. Some people, when they have those, the gut bacteria ferments it and it releases gas and you can feel bloated. So if you find one that's for a lot of people, maltitol is one of those sugar alcohols. So if you find that you've got a protein powder that bloats you and it's got maltitol in, look for something that's got another sweetener in, okay? Or for a protein powder that doesn't have a sweetener in. But generally, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's cheap. Okay, I know that when you buy a kilo bag, it's like 25, 30 quid and sometimes more. But actually, when you're looking at a 25-gram portion, there's 40 portions in there. So you're looking at 50p a portion for 20 grams of protein. A chicken breast is more expensive than that,
yeah,
and yeah, I do promote food first approach. So try and get your protein in from whole food first because it's going to be more filling. But if you're struggling with that, either just the sheer volume of food or appetite or cost, protein powder is a very good one. And I'm like you, I have it daily. I put it in my overnight oats to boost the protein content. Just mixed in, dead easy. Okay, so protein powders, yeah, it's I think it's a good one. And then the last one, supplements, and this ties in with this food first approach. So the question was supplements, do the drinks like really work?
mm.
I think you and I share the same opinion on supplements here. In that
Yeah. Is that the greens one?
it's well, they do all sorts of stuff. I think I can't remember the one that was specific. I don't think there was one that was specifically mentioned, but it's a powdered supplement that you can put in water and take as a drink.
It's depends what it's including, because actually, if it's anything like, I remember there's one that I sat like a nerd, looked at all the ingredients. I was like, if I just had a protein shake and took a multivitamin, it's exactly what this is, and it's half the price. And if you're eating a well-rounded, balanced diet, you're eating your 5 portions of fruit and veg a day. You're eating home cooked, healthy meals. That are well balanced is what you want. You don't need to necessarily supplement with all of these other things.
Yeah,
If you find, like I said earlier, I don't eat any fish. So I know I'm not getting my 2 portions of oily fish a week. I'm not getting, my omega-3 levels are low. Like I have flax seeds, I have chia seeds, which contain the omega-3s. But to boost that, I will then take omega-3 capsules, same as vitamin D. Everyone in the UK pretty much is deficient in vitamin D, the majority of the UK. But in terms of all these other multivitamins, these drink companies, whatever they are, they're not really doing anything that a well-rounded, balanced diet will give you.
absolutely not. It's a food first approach, and they're expensive. I mean, I did have a look at this product, and it's like 20 quid for for I don't know how many things. I think it was 20 quid for 25 portions. So it's nearly a pound a portion,
Yeah.
and when you look at actually what's in there, yes, there are some things like you might get things like ashwagandha, and what was the other one? There was another one, ashwagandha and something else. Now, some of these supplements can have a benefit for some things. So, for example, ashwagandha has been shown in research to reduce moderate levels of anxiety and stress. Um, but there are other things you can do to do that, you know. And if you've got a stressful life, doesn't matter what you take, it's not going
Oh
to
yeah.
get rid of the stress, you know. Um, and again, if your diet is not very good, taking a supplement. Now, there are some cases, you know, if for example you have issues with some foods, you know, and you really struggle with getting certain foods in because of texture or taste, and there are people like that, and that you have
Yeah.
to work on that, then yes, a general multivitamin, a good quality multivitamin that has a good amount of each of these vitamins and minerals in, that can be beneficial for people who really struggle to get the veg and stuff in. But if you're just smashing, you know, processed food, frozen pizzas and stuff because you like it, and you don't want to eat the veg because you
You
still
don't like.
acting like a child, and you know, I'm going to be quite hard. I know that sounds brutal and harsh, but you know, if you don't like veg, grow up and try different ways of cooking it. But
Yeah.
if your diet's poor and you're taking a multivitamin, and it's like sticking a plaster over a hole in a dam, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
No, it's food first approach. Look at your fruit and veg intake. If you want your vitamins, get your fruit and veg in. If you want your minerals, then make sure you're getting a well-rounded diet that includes, um, you know, different types of meat. Ideally, oily fish if you can. If not, then you will need an omega-3 or a fish oil capsule. Get your dairy in for your calcium and various other bits. If you are vegan,
Yeah.
then you will need to supplement some things like vitamin B, for example. You will not get enough vitamin B12 in a vegan diet. So you do need to, but if you are doing the vegan diet properly, you will know that, and you can get things like nutritional yeast that will give you that B12. But for most people, the people who are selling you these supplements online are scam artists, pure and simple. And they will deny it, and they will give you all the stuff about the benefits, and they will say research shows. Research doesn't show,
Yeah.
right? The research that they generally have, and I've looked at some of these things, it's research they've done themselves. They've literally got 100 people, and they've gone, right, take this for a week, fill in a questionnaire to let us know how you feel at the end of it.
Yeah.
That's not research. That is marketing. It's plain and simple marketing, you know. And if you want to spend 20 quid on something that tastes nice, then that's fine. But that's all
Oh,
it does. That's all it's doing. It's like BCAAs. There used to be a big thing on BCAAs a few years
yeah.
ago, and it's just flavored water. That's all it's doing. If you eat enough protein, you are getting, and BCAA stands for branched chain amino acids, and there's three of them. But if you have a protein shake, you're going to get all three.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If you eat enough protein and eat chicken breast, you're going to get all three. So BCAAs are probably the most pointless supplement out there. But yeah, supplements, diet first. If you're really struggling to get enough fruit and veg in, then a basic multivitamin, you know, a good quality multivitamin is a broad spectrum is going to be good. There are certain things that you can, you know, certain conditions and certain things where you might need more supplements.
Yeah.
So if you get a blood test and they tell you that you are deficient in iron, then they will give you an iron supplement. If you're deficient in magnesium or something like that, then they might give you a supplement there. But generally, you can get it from your diet. And then, apart from the ones that you mentioned, vitamin D, omega 3s, creatine, they're about the only three.
Yeah.
And then creatine, I'm not going to go into that now, but we'll do that in another.
Yeah. We can do that on another one.
Yeah, no doubt. Now we've said that, somebody actually might ask us about creatine. Loads of benefits. You could do a whole podcast on creatine.
Good. Yeah.
We might do that in the future. There's a good one for you. I'll let you go and research that for next week.
Homework.
Well, that's all the questions. Another good one. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
liking these questions. These are really good.
Yeah.
Fab. Right, Alice, I will let you go and do the 40-minute drive home now.
Go home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
Yeah, really good. And I will try and I'm going to put this up on YouTube as I do for the Shape Up guys. But then I will try and extract the audio and put it up as a podcast. Yeah,
Exciting.
it'll be good. All right, now, listen, I will catch you soon. But yeah, bye for now.
Bye.